This regular meeting
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Mr. Volleson, please call the roll.
Mrs. Mahalis?
Here.
Mr. Zayas?
Here.
Mrs. Connor?
Here.
Mr. Akam?
Here.
Mr. Cebulski?
All right, we'll start this evening with special reports and recognitions. We have two students from the high school being recognized as Rotary Students of the Month. They are Jordan Slaw and Brady Shamba. May I have a motion for approval?
Move.
Second.
We'll hear from the students. Any comments or questions before that? Mr. Volleson, please call the roll.
Mrs. Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Cebulski?
Yes.
Mrs. Mahalis?
Yes.
Mr. Akam?
Yes.
Mr. Zayas?
Yes.
All right, Mr. Hayes, please introduce the students.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Mahalis and the board, for allowing us to shed light on a couple amazing soon-to-be graduates of Aurora High School, and it's pretty crazy to think that it's coming up in just a couple of weeks. We're going to start by introducing Brady Schambach here, and then want to share a few sentiments that his teachers expressed about him in the nomination process. So, Mr. Cucarola said, "I've had Brady in my AP Human Geo class this year, and he's wise beyond his years. He's insightful and inquisitive on a daily basis, and I thoroughly enjoy talking with him because he brings a unique perspective to our class discussions. He's a wonderful representative of the Rotary Club, and he has done tremendous work, has a tremendous work ethic, and his positive attitude and high character shines through every day." Mr. Rakow, his math teacher, said, "Brady is one of only a few students who engage with me not just academically, but personally. He always asks about my weekend or about how my day's going. In addition, he is a leader in the classroom. His hand is always raised to answer questions, but even more importantly, to ask questions. He's never afraid to ask when he feels like there's a detail of the material he isn't fully understanding. This helps to create an environment in which all students feel comfortable participating. Having him in class is a pleasure in every way." Another math teacher who had Brady last year said, "When I had him, he didn't get the exact grade he wanted one particular semester, and while some students would have been deterred by this, Brady decided to buckle down and ensure his success and content knowledge. He started changing his study and preparation habits. He came in early for extra help frequently, while becoming more focused on his own work, trying to narrow down what he did and did not understand so he could rectify his practice. He was incredibly mature, and during the most challenging content of his junior year, he ultimately earned an A for the semester. He is the perfect example of what changing your practice can do to meet the demands of immense rigor." Finally, Mrs. McKenzie, his business teacher, said, "I don't have anything but glowing words to say about Brady. I was lucky enough to have him in several business classes. He has a natural brain for business. He really seems to understand the essential elements of being successful and how to face adversity well. He was a natural leader in my business management class during the first semester. He was elected as the president by the class for the Heroes for Hoodies project. Brady led the class in a very positive manner and genuinely listened to people when they presented issues. He was forced to make some important decisions about the direction of the business, knowing that not everyone was on board all the time. He dedicated time outside of the classroom to sell sweatshirts and ensure there was a sizable donation to the charity. After reflecting on the semester, Brady said, taking on the role of the president forced him to what was initially an uncomfortable role, but one that made him learn quickly how to effectively work with others and speak in front of a group. The growth he displayed in both confidence and leadership was immeasurable. He's naturally social, so it's easy to like Brady and engage in conversation with him. He has amazing manners and a very impressive work ethic. and Mrs. McKenzie wrote this before before students went on internship, but she said, with only a few remaining days before senior internship, he has still been putting forth 110% effort, finishing strong, and he is so worthy of this recognition. So it's my pleasure to introduce Brady Schambach.
First off, I would like to say thank you to Rotary Club and the Board of Education for giving me this very prestigious award. I would also like to give a very special thanks to my friends, family, and teachers, because without them, I would be nowhere near the man that I am today. They were always there for me whenever I needed it most, no matter what the situation was. I think that's the reason I've grown an interest in volunteering. These people have shown me what it feels like to be helped, and I want to provide that feeling with as many people as possible. As I'm getting ready to graduate in the upcoming weeks, I've started to look back on my high school journey. Throughout the 4 years of being at Aurora High School, there was one major experience that stood out to me the most. That was when I was the president of my business management class. In this class, we designed t-shirts and sweatshirts that help veterans in need, and in the end, we were able to donate $1,300 to the Hope for the Worst project, along with giving away over 100 t-shirts to local veterans who attended the Veterans Dinner at Aurora High School. The feelings that I received that night were some of the best ever. It was a mixture of happiness, pride, and contentment. These feelings are what makes volunteering so great. You get to help someone else in a time of need, along with helping yourself a little bit. When my time at Aurora High School comes to an end, I will be continuing my education journey at Ohio University with a major in finance, in which I plan on helping as many people as possible throughout my time there, along with continuing that process throughout my whole life. And once again, I cannot thank you enough for this great award.
All right, with that, I'm going to introduce Jordan Slaw and a few of the sentiments that her teachers had to share. Mrs. Simmerman, Jordan's math teacher, said, "Jordan is a quiet math warrior. She was patient and determined to master some of the most challenging content. She was always willing to help her peers as her abilities surpassed theirs on most occasions. She didn't get flustered when it was challenging, but rather adapted her practice in order to achieve at the highest of levels. She is absolutely a great choice for the Rotary Student of the Month." Mrs. Antal, one of Jordan's sports marketing teachers, said, "Jordan is great. She has a positive attitude, is always attentive and thoughtful in her classwork and participation. She has innovative ideas, and when it comes to applying what we've learned in sports and entertainment marketing, for example, she developed a new team while many students were choosing one of the big five for their projects like Major League Baseball, NBA, NFL. Jordan instead came up with the Nalu Puffers, a swimming team based in Hawaii that puts on shows, including a variety of aquatics and entertainment, and has a puffer fish as their mascot, just showcasing her innovative mindset. Mrs. Durda said, quote, "Jordan has a great work ethic. She is kind and respectful, and her classmates and teachers can instantly feel her positive attitude." And finally, Senora Brancasio said Jordan is steadfast in her commitment to her studies and to others. She recently hosted a student from Costa Rica for 16 days, even though she has her own busy schedule. She was attentive and excellent as a host. She is also an integral and valuable member of AP Spanish. She is always going above and beyond expectations. She was involved in World Kindness Day's Dance for Kindness from promotion to participation. She is a treasure and an asset to any group in which she associates. She has made a clear, refreshing, and reassuring impact in our community, which serves to send a message that young people care and are kind and are helpful and have so very much to offer. It's my pleasure to recognize Jordan Slaw.
First of all, I just want to thank all Rotary Club members and the Board of Education for having me here today and giving me this recognition. Just some facts about me. I'm a daughter. I'm the youngest of three. I like anything with the name pasta in it. I've been in orchestra for about 9 years now, and I've been dancing for almost all my life. So as a student at Aurora High School, the Rotary Club has come up in multiple conversations, either in Z Club, which is a women empowerment club, or Interact Club, which I've been part of in the past. And I am just inspired by everything they do for this community, and I just want to move that forward with what I do in Aurora High School. I participated in multiple activities at Aurora High School, Fill a Bag, Feed a Family, or Rake and Run. And as a senior today, I was a part of the Z Club, which I am very proud of us creating and running the Think Pink Gala, which was a night to raise awareness and donations for breast cancer. And I am happy to say we rose a lot of money to give to the Susan G. Komen Foundation, and we were all very proud of that. And I just want to thank Mrs. Foster for her dedication to that club. Also, throughout my high school experience, I've had the pleasure of working with multiple teachers in multiple subjects. One that stands out to me is Senora Brancazio. She has made my love for the culture of Spanish just expand so much more than just inside the classroom. And she has made me come out of my comfort zone, like hosting a Costa Rican, which was an experience that I would do over and over again. So I just want to thank her profusely. And after graduation, I'm going to attend Miami University with a major in finance and a minor in music and culture. And I once again just want to thank the Rotary Club and the Board of Education, and I hope you guys all have a good evening.
Sorry, I forgot to give you Thank you. Thank you, students. Your speeches were inspirational, and can't wait to see what you do in years after you graduate.
Thank you, Saul. Thank you, board. For
Okay.
letting us,
Thank
highlight
you.
it. Appreciate it.
All right, next we move into hearing of the public. This period of the board meeting is allocated to hearing public comments on both agenda and non-agenda items. The board and administration do not respond at board meetings to questions from the audience, nor will we comment. Individuals wishing to comment should have registered on the comment sign-up sheet that was placed at the entrance to the board meeting. The public comment period is a maximum of 30 minutes, and each speaker will be limited to a total time of 3 minutes. The board treasurer will keep the time, and each person addressing the board is requested to provide his or her name and address upon being recognized by the chair. That information will be included in the board meeting minutes. So first, we have Ethan Bradley. Come up. Now, I want to make sure we can hear you, so someone, yeah, that might work.
Dear Aurora Board of Education, I am Ethan Bradley. I am representing the 4th grade Gifted Enrichment class at Layton Elementary. On April 8th, 2024, there will be a total solar eclipse. The eclipse will be coming directly to Aurora, Ohio. Currently, we are scheduled to attend school this day, which is a problem. It's a problem for many reasons, including traffic and safety. These problems are very concerning. This spectacular total solar eclipse event can also be turned into a learning opportunity. A total solar eclipse happens when the moon completely blocks the sun. So in the middle of the day, it'll be dark for a few minutes. If we have a school day on the day of the total solar eclipse, we will be missing an incredible event. This is truly a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for us to experience this incredible event. One person from Fox 8 named Bradshaw says, an eclipse that people can experience is like winning the lottery. The next time Ohio will see a total solar eclipse is 2444. There will be more total solar eclipses across the continental U.S., but they are very rare. So for us to watch this spectacular event, it will be amazing. If we still have the day of school, we will be missing an event that is like winning the lottery. Another problem is safety. With all the tourists coming to our area, there will be many concerns. Total solar eclipses are rare, so wherever the path of totality is, so are the tourists. According to News 5, they state there are tens of thousands of people in the North Coast Harbor because it's a perfect place to watch a solar eclipse. So as you can see, tourists will line the streets to see this incredible event. Also, if we have a school day, we will need police officers to patrol our school and keep us safe. In addition, totality will occur at around 3:15, which is right when Miller, Craddock, and Layton Elementary will be getting dismissed. This will be a problem because kids may decide to look at the extremely interesting event and hurt their eyes. Also, everybody will stop at Arrangement, which will be a problem because buses will be coming from Craddock when drivers will stop and stare at this spectacular eclipse. For these problems, we need to do something. Kids cannot be supervised at all times while we were at school on the day of the total solar eclipse, so some kids may decide to look at the sun and hurt their eyes. Also, it'll be completely crazy in Aurora. A solution is to let us have a calamity day on the day of the total solar eclipse. And this will solve many problems. Thank you for considering this request. Only you can help us go to the moon and back. Sincerely, Ethan Bradley.
Ethan, I'm going to break my own rule and ask you a question. Did you say it's supposed to happen around 3:15?
Yes.
Well, thank you for bringing it to our attention a year ahead of time. And we're on it. Truly, we are. Thank you.
Yeah, good job.
We got
We got a
packet.
handout too.
We got a handout. All right, next is Julia Zayas.
Good evening, members of the Board of Education and Administration. I'd like to read a letter that I recently sent to Mr. Hayes regarding a girls' wrestling team at Aurora High School. I'm a 7th grade student at Harmon Middle School, and I am a club wrestler. I've been wrestling for 2 years now. I am writing to you because I am interested in starting an all-girls wrestling team by the time I am a freshman. I know a few other girls that I think would be great female wrestlers that are interested in wrestling for Harmon Middle School by the time they're in 8th grade, which I plan on doing myself. Research has shown that in the past 5 years, female wrestling has expanded by 10% in high schools all around the U.S. If Aurora High School starts an all-girls wrestling team, the population of female wrestlers will expand even more, and our community can be part of the growth of this great sport. I myself have played multiple sports, including softball, soccer, football, gymnastics, cheer, and I am currently doing track this spring. But for me, wrestling was the sport that stood out to me more than any other sport that I've done. Wrestling has taught me how to put in hard work, discipline, how to stay focused, and how to put myself out there and not be afraid of what others will think. The main reason I think this would be a great to have by the time I am in high school is because it would inspire other girls to get out of their comfort zone, to try something new, and to appreciate wrestling. I truly hope you take this letter into deep consideration. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Julia. Thanks for putting that on our radar as well. And we'll see what happens. The procedure, you said you already wrote to Mr. Hayes. All right, so this would be a good time to take a couple minutes break for any of you who want to leave, but you're welcome to stay if you'd like. And we have a new banner back there if anybody wants to get their picture taken in front of it, but I saw some of you did that over here already.
Was it my picture? You're no fun. Should be working. I'll test it out over there.
That kid was hilarious. She was so cute.
Total eclipse of the heart, huh?
That's cute.
That was a passion project or an expansion plan? Something that you know. Look at this. That's not bad. That's not bad. Oh, that's fun.
All right, we will move on now to the approval of minutes of the special meeting of March 6th and the regular meeting of March 20th. We all attended each, and so without objection, I'll take them together. May I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Are there any comments, edits, additions, subtractions, nothing? Mr. Volleson, please call the roll.
Mr. Zayas?
Yes.
Mrs. Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Sobolski?
Yes.
Mrs. Mahalis?
Yes.
Mr. Aiken?
Yes.
All right, minutes are approved. Next, superintendent and assistant superintendent report.
I wanted to start out just by giving really three short updates that I'm going to share with my superintendent report. And starting out with just a shout out and congratulations to Aurora High School. They earned the Star Award for being a military-friendly school. And this recognizes and shows that Aurora High has made a major commitment to the students and families connected to our nation's military. The schools that earn this award receive you can see to the right, the special Purple Heart recognition, the Purple Star recognition. And in order to receive the honor, they must have first a school liaison who has to complete an application process. And Katie Oberlin was the individual who did this in our school counseling office, and she had done this in 2020 and repeated this for this next 3 years also for 2023 going through 2025. But this is an outside recognition. The Purple Star Advisory Board, which is formed by Ohio Department of Education and Higher Education Veteran Services, and the Adjunct General helps decide the school's eligibility for the award. And to receive the recognition is a testimony to the Aurora's community values, as well as the extensive efforts of the staff and stakeholders for hosting things like we just mentioned earlier today, the Veterans Luncheon, the Hoodies for Heroes fundraiser, which all support veterans. And so this is a very nice honor to be recognized for, and I wanted to be sure that that was on the radar and you knew what was going on. From the Friday notes that I sent, you saw there was a lot of concerts and things happening, but there was no room for me to talk about the senior activities, to put those on your radar. So I wanted to be sure you knew of some of the things going on. We're currently in the beginning of senior internship, as you can see up there, and that'll end in about 3 weeks with the senior symposiums, where the students will be coming in to talk about each of their projects and the like on May 10th. Prom is this weekend, including after prom, which will be back at Aurora High School in the gymnasium, Commons area. And then senior awards night to put on your radar is on the 11th, with the seniors finishing up on the 12th. We're not going with the senior breakfast this year, but we do have a Captain Town distribution along with a slideshow. But something new after the baccalaureate, you can see, is the walk down memory lane, which Mr. Hayes has gotten together. And what he's done with Mrs. Taylor is they figured this out. They walked it through, and what's going to happen is the seniors who are interested in participating will actually board a bus, and they're going to hit each one of these schools. And with their gowns on, they're going to kind of parade through and walk through the schools so that the kindergartners can see them at Miller, and the second graders can see them at Craddock, and the third, fourth, and fifth graders at Layton. And it also gives the seniors a chance, for those who went to school K-12 here, to kind of walk through the halls of those schools. So I think that's really a cool addition, and of course it all culminates with commencement on the 18th, which will knock on wood and say really nice someday like we've had the last 2 years. And then the last thing is I wanted to be sure to give you an update on what we have going on. So we've been partnering with the Design Architecture, as you know, our TDA, and we are going to be holding 3 open house nights to share basically a 30,000-foot view of our new potential construction options to both the staff and the community as a whole. So the open house is going to be held here in the conference center, and it's going to be set up very similar to like various stations. So there's going to be 5 stations set up. We'll have a K-3 elementary station, which will have diagrams and some pictures, as well as some of the statistics and things like that of the K-3 elementary school. Same thing, another station for the high school, and that way, those will be manned by architects from TDA, so they'll be part of this process as well. There's going to be a design process station in which someone from TDA will be able to explain all the things we've done so far, and what are going to be the next steps, including things like the timelines, the various meetings that we've completed, next steps, things like that. Bill's going to be manning a station to talk about school finances in relation to the potential project. I have a station that's set up, it's called the cost of doing nothing. So it's about if we were not going to build a school, it's still going to cost us because we're going to have to upgrade Craddock and some of the things that are going on there, as well as things like trailers that would have to be added to the district for the growth. And then as folks make their way around and they get ready then to exit, Paul's going to be manning a 6th station out in the hall, which will be basically lined with Chromebooks, so about, 15 to 20 Chromebooks, and there will be a Google form where people will be able to kind of get their feedback on what they saw and be allowed to kind of share, so that we can kind of look at those surveys. They'll be very short, read those over, touch base with TVA, and our goal is then to have all that information to bring back to you in the June board meeting with a potential recommendation that you guys will be able to decide which building will be looking to potentially go. And that would then be the three things that I'd like to share. Any questions on any of those? Okay, then I will turn it over to Bob. How will you about the testing season with them?
Yes, thank you. I wanted to bring you up to speed a little bit on some of the testing that we've been taking care of here March, April, and May. And actually, I was chuckling a little bit when our young student was talking about April 15th. I'm wondering if I'm going to have to take into account some different scheduling for next year during testing season. But we have a year to worry about that, so I'm sure we'll figure that out. Yeah, obviously this time of the year we are extremely busy with the coordination of so many different types of tests that are required. And there's always a little bit of, I guess, anticipation and nerves just to make sure everything goes smoothly. We always feel confident because we've been working with our students all year long, following our philosophy of, just taking a well-rounded approach, nurturing the roots, as we like to call it, but align with the expected outcomes. And so we expect things to go well, and obviously I'll keep you up to date on that later, in the summer and next fall. But I did want you to sort of understand the whole scope of what's going on at all the different buildings. So you can see up there sort of four major topics here. We have the COGAT, Iowa, Naglieri, which I'm going to talk about, the gifted testing. We have our, and I didn't even put this in the report, but our WELPA testing, which is for EL students, so I'll talk briefly about that. The OST or EOC testing, and I'm going to try to correct myself because sometimes I even refer to those as air tests, and we don't even use that vendor anymore. So Ohio State tests or end of course tests, and then of course advanced placement. I know you're familiar with all of those. So just the first couple there, gifted testing. I think you're aware, but we are there's different bands of gifted testing that we have to do, 2nd grade and 5th grade, and so we typically will do COGAT and Iowa testing. And Mrs. Gagel is awesome with coordinating that and working with Mrs. Menta, Mrs. Neisen, and all the teachers there. And so we've been able to take care of that recently. One thing I did just want to bring your attention is that there was some extra testing this year, sort of on a pilot basis. It's called the Naglieri test, and it is not a test that we've done before. The reason why we piloted it is because there is, I guess, a push from ODE in the new report card that they want districts to examine their testing of gifted students to see if they're missing any students in certain subgroups of students. And so we're doing our best to examine that and see if we were to use different types of testing, would there be different results? Would certain students be hit that gifted mark in creativity or one of those different areas? Don't know if that's the case. This test, by the way, is not even approved for this purpose yet. It's out there. Could potentially be approved, but we essentially were just doing some action research to see if we tried different measures, what that would look like, and would we see different results with different subgroups of students. So just wanted you to be aware of that if you heard about this extra testing. The other one, I didn't put this in your report, but we have been doing the OELPA testing. So that's Mrs. Levy and Ms. Flannery working with all of our EL students to see their growth and if they would exit from English language learner services. And so that takes quite a bit amount of time as well. So I did want to mention that one. And then the chart that I have up there for you, this would be our OST assessments. And I think you're, for the most part, pretty familiar with this. So those are all of the required assessments, grades 3 through 8, and then it speaks a little bit to the graduation ones at the bottom. So you can see 3 through 8 English language arts and math, a couple of science tests, and then once you get to the high school, those tests in math, which would be algebra and geometry, are required. Although, to be honest with you, geometry is required federally, but not towards graduation. It's just kind of a quirk that still exists in the system. There is the English language arts, which is the sophomore year, 2 tests, and those two, the math and ELA, students have to score competent in those 2 for graduation, unless they just choose, or unless they go an alternative pathway route, which I've talked to the board about a little bit previously. And then you have your biology, American history, and American government. And American history, American government, and biology, when students pass those, which most of them do, that's how they earn those 2 seals. I know I've talked to you about that seal option before, so they have to have competency and then earn seals. Most of our students earn those, and then beyond just those 2 seals. But that's typically what most students do. I did want to bring to your attention, though, the graduation requirements, and I put that in my report as well. That one of the recent changes with the report card is that the biology and the U.S. history and U.S. government tests actually count into our performance index, which is that calculation that they have for all schools based on the tests and passage and at what rate they passed. So that was new this past year. And we actually don't have roughly half our students taking U.S. history and U.S. government because they're taking the advanced placement tests instead. But what is the change is that the scores that they earn on the advanced placement, U.S. history and advanced placement government AP tests, then is sort of on a scale, it's weighted. Those transfer then over to the requirements for this, and it also counts in the performance index. So just wanted to tie that all together for you so you can see how those tests fit. So that is pretty much it for the OSTs. And then the last thing I did, have a couple visuals up here. AP testing is also a monster. This is just a monster at the high school. The EOCs are at all the buildings, but basically for 2 straight weeks, every single day, we're testing advanced placement. So that's the first week. You can see May 1st through the 5th. You can see all the different subjects. And then when we flip to the next week, that's May 8th through May 12th, all the different subjects. All in all, 23 tests, 850 students. It's a big one, and a large undertaking facilitated by April Nenadal, our AP coordinator at the high school, and of course, our administration and many teachers and proctors and subs and secretaries and counselors. I mean, really for all of these assessments, extremely time consuming. A lot of energy and time is dedicated to this, but it's going very smoothly. Everything we've done to prepare, and in terms of the logistics and the the technology, Chromebooks, it's gone very smooth. So we have 2 more days of EOC testing, and then we'll finish makeups and move on to the advanced placement testing. But just want to make sure you sort of had a snapshot of all that was going on the last few months and what will be happening in May. And do want to thank all those involved with the testing, because certainly it's my job to coordinate all of that, but obviously I can't do that myself. So it's a huge team of people that we rely upon, and that they really do a great job. So just wanted to say that publicly, and if there's any questions, we can take those now.
I don't have a question. It just sounds overwhelming getting all of that.
It can be. It's a lot of testing.
Yeah.
It's a lot of testing. But like I said, most of it's required, and some of it's obviously the advanced placement is
Right.
something that our students look for. So.
And you said 850 exams are being given?
Yeah, which is that's a solid number. Although we've had years where, and I think even next year, where we've been over 900 or so. And actually, with the change with math for next year, it'll be a bigger number. We might even be closing in on 1,000. We'll see. We'll see when we get there. Do you have the updated number for next year?
Impressive. Okay, you done?
Yes.
Thanks for your reports. Mr. Volleson.
Thank you, Mrs.
Treasurer's
Mahalis.
report, yep.
3 resolutions for your consideration, and I'll start with the financial report for March. And in March, our revenues exceeded expenditures by about $4.1 million, increasing our cash balance to about $19.9 million 9 months into the fiscal year. Revenues about 8% greater than projected, and expenditures about 2.4% greater. Big thing on the revenue side, we received a balance of our first half 2022 real estate tax receipts, nearly $6.3 million. This is from Portage County, along with our public utility tangible personal property taxes were about $864,000. The real estate receipts were about $478,000 greater than projected. A couple reasons for this. If you remember, last month, our advances were about 65,000 less, so the money just depends how fast it comes into the county. Also, delinquent tax collections were about 160,000 greater than projected, so a lot more in delinquent taxes came into the county this year. So people are kind of getting caught up on maybe some of the taxes they had fallen behind on. And also, finally, the collection split is a little higher than what it normally has been. So part of this could be people paying the full year taxes at one time and that type of thing. Finally, then the remaining of our real estate taxes from Summit County will be coming in the month of April, and actually they already have, so we'll talk a little bit more about that next month. Also on the revenue end, we've got about $88,500 in all-day kindergarten tuition for next year. Also, nearly $42,000 in regular ed tuition from non-resident students, and another $29,000 for special ed non-resident students that will receive tuition payments. Nothing a whole lot different on the expenditure side, other than all the tax dollars we received. We paid about $315,000 in collection fees to Portage County auditors for their work in gathering the taxes, both the delinquent taxes and the regular taxes. So thus far for the fiscal year, revenues are about $585,000 greater than projected, expenditures about $143 greater. We have a favorable variance about $442,000 9 months into the fiscal year. So that is the general fund report for March.
Okay, thank you. Exhibit D1 is a resolution to approve financial statements and reports. May I have a motion?
Second.
Any comments or questions? Mr. Volleson? Mr. Volleson, please call the roll.
Mrs. Mahalis?
Yes.
Mr. Akam?
Yes.
Mr. Zayas?
Yes.
Mrs. Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Sobolski?
Yes.
Okay, second resolution, there's a typo on it, is a resolution to accept the audit report. And this is for last fiscal year, July 1, 2021 through June 30, 2022. As I shared in my Treasurer's report last week, we got a unqualified opinion audit, which is the best that you can get, which indicates that everything's done, our financial statements are presented fairly in all material aspects, and our financial position is in conformity with generally accepted accounting principles. So a lot of work goes into this, and thanks to all the different administrators, Mr. Roberto, Dr. Milsatich, Mr. Powers, all the building principals, Mr. Arquilla for all the work they do, obviously the ladies in my office, Mrs. Eby, Mrs. Prochaska, and Mrs. Hatch, and all the other secretaries, food service personnel within the district. Without everybody doing what they're supposed to be doing, we wouldn't have good audits.
All right, Exhibit D2 is a resolution to accept the audit report for July, and it should say 2021 through June 30th, 2022. May I have a motion for approval?
So moved. Second.
Any comments or questions? Thank you for another perfect audit.
You're welcome.
Please call the roll.
Mrs. Connor?
Yes.
Mrs. Mahalis?
Yes.
Mr. Zayas?
Yes.
Mr. Akam?
Yes.
Mr. Sobolski?
Yes.
And finally, Exhibit D3 is a resolution to approve the 5-year forecast. Again, we do this twice a year. We did it in November. It has to be done by May. Since we had a work session about 10 days ago, we just kind of went over all of this. We'll just approve it in April and file it with the state. We'll be back again in November with an updated version to be approved. And we won't go over a lot of it now since we just went over it. But the bottom line really is where we're at right now. Starting in fiscal year 23, we're going to be to a point where our expenses are exceeding our revenues. So we'll start deficit spending. So we'll still have a positive cash balance. What the forecast projects is that we'll have a positive cash balance through 26, going into the negative in 27. We're looking at an average increase in revenues of about 1.7% over this period. And as we discussed earlier, our state dollars are going to stay relatively the same. Our tax dollars really don't go up. As valuations, property valuations go up, the millage goes down. So when a levy is put into place, we roughly receive the same amount of money all the way into the future. So everybody's tax bill will shrink a little bit as more houses are built and more people move into the district. Expenditures, we're looking at about an average increase of about 5.5% per year. And obviously with inflation being what it has been, that's part of the reason, that these are probably a little higher than what we've seen in previous years. So overall, right now the district, again, we're going into a deficit spending. We're still good financially now, but we're obviously going to have to keep a look at this and possibility of obviously having to look for additional tax dollars moving into the future.
Okay, Exhibit D3, a resolution to approve the state 5-year forecast. May I have a motion?
Moved. Second.
Any comments or questions? We did discuss that we need to have another work session relatively soon to discuss the issues that you brought up at the meeting, at our special meeting and tonight, so we'll do that. All right, Mr. Volleson, please call the roll.
Mr. Cebulski?
Yes.
Mr. Zayas?
Yes.
Mr. Akam?
Yes.
Mrs. Connor?
Yes.
Mrs. Mahalis?
Yes.
And that concludes my report.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to new business, we have Exhibit E1A, which is a resolution to accept gifts and contributions. And I'd like to just read through them. I'll try to abbreviate it. I think it's important that we acknowledge these people publicly. We have 5 donations to the high school athletic department for baseball. Mr. Timothy Keys donated $150. KC Roofing LLC donated $500. Permco Inc. donated $1,500. Mr. and Mrs. Imbrescia donated $250, and Munn LLC donated $500. To the high school athletic department for boys soccer, we have State Farm having donated $1,009. PTO and athletic boosters donated 4 table skirts for the high school, and PTO donated $20,000 for modification to the senior room, which I'd love to hear more about. Okay. And then, is the next one supposed to be Parks and Recreation? Is it? Oh, I thought it could have been like a, how they have hotels for dogs. Okay. Parks and Recreation of Macedonia donated $250 to the high school athletic department for girls soccer. And finally, Lee Angelos of Aurora donated $500 to the athletic department for girls soccer. May I have a motion for approval?
Second.
Any comments or questions other than thank you? All right, Mr. Lawson, please call the roll.
Mrs. Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Zayas?
Yes.
Mrs. Mahalis?
Yes.
Mr. Akam?
Yes.
Mr. Cebulski?
Yes.
All right, we have 14 personnel resolutions, and I think without objection, I'll take them together. Is that all right? All right, Exhibit E1B1 is a resolution to accept resignations and retirements. Exhibit E1B2 is a resolution to employ licensed substitute teachers, or just one teacher, for next school year. Exhibit E1B3 is a resolution to employ licensed substitute teachers for next school year. Exhibit E1B4 is a resolution to take notice of expiration of supplemental and extended time contracts. Exhibit E1B5 is a resolution to award 2-year limited contracts to a list of teachers. Exhibit E1B6 is a resolution to award teachers 1-year limited contracts. Exhibit E1B7 is a resolution to employ specialists for next school year. Exhibit E1B8 is a resolution to award teachers continuing contract status. Exhibit E1B9 is a resolution to suspend specialists' contracts. Exhibit E1B10 is a resolution to approve the introductory appointment of support staff. Exhibit E1B11 is a resolution to award a teacher a 1-year limited contract. Exhibit E1B12 is a resolution to award supplemental contracts. Exhibit E1B13 is a resolution to approve a leave of absence request. And Exhibit E1B14 is a resolution to increase the contract days of Special Services Secretary position. May I have a motion for approval?
Move.
Chair
Second.
seconds. And I understand that, I don't know how to say it, Eleni Karakastis? Karakastis is here, so welcome. She's the social studies teacher at the high school. Thank you for coming so we could get to see you and meet you.
Congratulations.
All right, any other comments or questions? Mr. Volleson, please call the roll.
Mr. Zayas?
Yes.
Mrs. Mahalis?
Yes.
Mr. Acom?
Yes.
Mrs. Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Sobolski?
All right, all those resolutions are approved. Next, we have E1C, Exhibit E1C, which is a resolution endorsing the observance of Staff Appreciation Week to be held May 8th through 12th. May I have a motion for approval?
Second?
Any comments or questions? I know I speak for the board when I say that we are grateful to our entire staff, not just the teaching staff, but the administrative staff, the clerical, custodial, food service, and transportation for all the hard work that you put into this job. That leads us not only to our students, not only to a quality education, but also to a nurturing environment where they feel cared for and safe. And we know that that's all a part of a successful student. And in today's world, it seems like it's just getting more and more difficult to provide all of that with the varying backgrounds and abilities that we see. But you're still doing a great job and very successful, and we know it's because of your diligence and hard work. So we look forward to showing you more appreciation during that week, and we call on the community to join us in doing that. We already did a motion.
Mhm.
Okay. you call the roll.
Mr. Sobolski? Yes. Mr. Zayas?
Yes.
Mrs. Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Acom?
Yes.
Mrs. Mahalis?
Yes. Next, Exhibit E1D is a resolution to renew an agreement with the Educational Service Center of Northeast Ohio. I'll get a motion first in a second. Please.
So moved.
All right, you want to just do a little explaining?
Yes.
Thank you.
This is just, working with our EOC, any district that has 16,000 or less students must actually enter into agreement with the governing board or of an educational service center to help with some of the federal funds that we get, and also because they provide services. So, for example, we get some of our nurses are coming from there, some of our staff, including something like credit recovery, is from there. They help us with professional development. So they're a great service. We've been working with the Northeast Ohio Service Center for a while now, since the Portage County ESC shut down. So this is an annual approval of that, but it's a great partnership that we've had over the years.
Okay, any other comments or questions? All right, Mr. Volleson, please call the roll.
Mr. Zayas?
Yes.
Mr. Sobolski? Yes. Mr. Acom?
Yes.
Mrs. Mahalis?
Yes.
Mrs. Connor?
Yes.
All right, resolution is approved. Exhibit E1E is a resolution to accept and approve the graduating class of 2023. May I have a motion for approval?
Moved?
Second.
Any comments or questions? Mike, you have one, right?
I do.
How many total? I didn't count. All right, Mr. Volleson, please call the roll.
Mr. Acom?
Yes.
Mr. Zayas?
Yes.
Mrs. Connor?
Yes.
Mrs. Mahalis?
Yes.
Mr. Sobolski?
Resolution is approved. Congratulations to the students. Okay, we have two discussion items before us. The first one is a new policy for dyslexia intervention and supports. Can you talk about that at all?
Yeah, Paul has alluded to this, that we've had to have a number of required training that our teachers have been going through, and then the screening that the students will be going through. And so this is a new policy that was put out by OSBA in order to be sure that we're aligned to the expectations for that training and those testing.
All right, so we'll vote on that next month, assume, right? And then the last discussion item, the second, is the revised policy, EDC, Emergency Management Safety Plans.
And again, this is just more of an update from OSBA to be sure that we're aligned with some of the expectations that are there. Each year, each of our buildings submit a safety plan through there that has to be approved. There's a, Sal does a great job of kind of motivating a lot of the administration to fill those out. And so this is a policy that again is addressing some of these expectations.
Thank you. Are there any board items this evening? All right, and I will please call the roll.
Mrs. Connor?
Yes.
Mrs. Mahalis?
Yes.
Mr. Acom?
Yes.
Mr. Zayas?
Yes.
Mr. Sobulski?